It's about conspiracy. He didn't say I couldn't talk about things. He didn't say he's not telling me what to say, and he's not telling me what to say, and he's not telling me that sponsors are saying don't say this and don't say that. This is my show. I can say what I want. I can, as long as I stick to the theme. And so, believe me when I tell you, if I wasn't free to speak my unfiltered truth, then I wouldn't have accepted Gary Anderson's offer to have a show on his network. You got to believe it. Believe it. I wouldn't be here doing this if I wasn't passionate and felt free. In fact, my show, the ronals-farnham Show, is specifically designed to free your mind, to free your body, to free your soul from the clutches of a vast political, paranormal conspiracy that's turned you from a living soul into a citizen slave. Although, honestly, no matter what, really, you are living souls, and that can't be taken from you. I mean, physically. It's my belief that you're a living soul. We've been trained and told since we were young that we are human beings that have a soul. But based on what I've studied about the nature of reality and what I have deduced, we are actually living souls having an apparently physical experience. So you're just going to have to learn how to reclaim your sovereign living soul status and remove yourself from the conspiracy, from the jurisdiction of the corporations that are posing as governments all across what you call Earth. And I'm going to teach you that. Among other things, I'm going to teach you how to be free, how to be sovereign. We're going to ask the difficult questions. We're going to get to the truth. And we're going to start touching on some of these subjects tonight. I only have an hour, and time's already flying by. We're already 15 minutes into the show, and as you likely know, as an audience member of Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, that you can't just cover some of these topics in one night. We're going to be touching on them and retouching on them. But first, I need to tell you guys a little bit about me you might not know about me, so that you know where I'm coming from with all of this. The reason I'm even on this network hosting a show is because Gary Anderson interviewed me on his shows a few times. He felt like I was a good fit for Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, and he invited me to have a show. And those of you who have listened to my interviews with Gary, you probably know some of what I'm going to say. So I'm just going to touch over it, and, over the years on this show, each episode, you'll probably learn a little bit more about me. But I just want to give you guys some of my background so that you know why I'm here and what I am about. So let me start with this. For about 15 years, I held a top secret clearance, a TSSCI clearance, top secret special compartmented information clearance with the Department of Defense. I was active duty Army intelligence, and I was a Korean linguist. In fact, when I went into the military, I went to the Defense Language Institute up in Monterey, California, and studied Korean for 2 years. I lived in Korea for a year after that. I also worked at some of the major military commands and headquarters, such as Headquarters Special Operations Command, Headquarters Southern Command, Headquarters Central Command. At Southern Command, I was a counterterrorism analyst for 2 years, doing threat assessments, writing threat assessments, published threat assessments on Latin America, South America, Central America, and Mexico. But actually, around 2003, and this is important for you guys to understand, and this is what started making me realize that the conspiracy goes deeper than you probably realize as the general audience. And if you're not in the military, you've never heard this before. I worked at Southern Command, and when I first got there in 2002, I had just left the contract in Washington, D.C., which was my first contract working on a CIA project to map all of the critical nodes in the United States right after 9/11. Right after 9/11, There were a lot more targets than just the Twin Towers and the Pentagon that day. There were at least 34 targets. And when I went to Southern Command, whose area of responsibility is South America, Central America, and Mexico, within about a couple of months of being there, I had to turn over all of my Mexico reporting to Northern Command. Northern Command had just stood up and took over its area of responsibility as Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So listen to what I'm saying. Canada, the United States, and Mexico fall under the area of responsibility of a military organization called Northern Command of the Department of Defense of the United States of America Corporation that is posing as a government. So take that in. You have a corporation posing as a government with a department. Like, it's got many departments, one being the Department of Defense, that has broken down the Earth into a series of commands, control areas. And Northern Command is now occupying the land in which you live, where you believe you're free, but you're under military occupation. After 8 years on active duty, I became a private contractor, and in 2006, I resigned as the Pathfinder trainer at Headquarters Special Operations Command because the National Security Agency refused to implement my solution, a written solution that I gave to them in writing because they asked for it, my solution to end terrorist activity across the Earth domain. When I realized I was powerless to help humankind while I was a member of the war machine, I decided to go into the entertainment business. I got into the entertainment business to make quality projects so that I could help free living souls from all forms of slavery. I knew that I needed to harness the mass media in order to get my voice across. So I decided in 2006, when I quit working for the Department of Defense at US SOCOM, that I would use the mass media to help end war and poverty and free all living souls across Earth from slavery. And there's all forms of slavery. There's financial slavery, which has got you, basically you're under control by the Federal Reserve Corporation, and they have put you under financial slavery with the promissory note. You call it a dollar bill, but it really says Federal Reserve note. It's really a promissory note printed off by the Federal Reserve Corporation. And that corporation is also working for another corporation, other corporations that are posing as governments, one of them being the United States of America Corporation. And it was fun. Let me tell you, when I got into the entertainment business, it was fun. I loved it. I loved taking acting classes. I started taking acting classes around 2002, 2003, when I was living in Miami working at Southern Command. I started taking acting classes, and I really enjoyed it. And I was really looking at it as kind of a break from the military government world. And so I first got in as an actor, and then I started casting projects, then I started producing projects, and then I started writing projects, and then I lived in Hollywood. And while I was there, living in Hollywood, I heard something troubling. I heard this adage, and I kept hearing it, especially as I was writing screenplays, and I was sending them out for coverage, and I was sending them out for producers to see if they wanted to make. And I started writing because I wanted to get out important information for people to understand. And one of the adages in the entertainment world is that if you work in the entertainment business, you're told that you're not there to send a message, but you're just there to entertain. Now, when I heard that, and I heard that several times, like I said, especially, when producers read my screenplays, I thought each time I heard it that that's a really bogus idea. The whole reason I got into the entertainment business was to get my voice out there, my voice. And if you work in the entertainment business, then please consider, if you're listening as an audience member, please consider your impact on the reality of your audience. And realize that you have a voice and that you may share your voice as you wish. And if the industry doesn't like your voice, and they try and push you out, then fine. Go buy a camera, go get some sound equipment, get a computer and some editing software, and just make your stuff and send it out there, because we need the independent voice out there. We need people who have a passion, who are going to write movies and TV shows that are going to start helping free people instead of further enslaving them. And throughout these shows, I'm going to explain to you the indoctrination from the mass media that has put you into a state of hypnosis, fear, and a belief in many things that you take for granted as truth. And it's not really the truth. It's not as it is. It's a figment of your imagination that's been implanted into your subconscious mind and is totally driving your reality and what you believe is real. So you guys, you have to always remember, this is your world in which you can create. If you let yourself become a puppet to the system, then you're doing a disservice to yourself and to all the living souls that you encounter across Earth. Okay, so look, this body of information that I'm going to reveal to you is going to change your life. And on purpose. I want to change your life. I want you to become, every time I write a screenplay or a book, I want you, the listener, the viewer, the reader, to be a different person at the end of the journey of the story. And my goal with what I'm doing here is to lift the veil of secrecy and go beyond the topics that are usually sequestered behind the label of national security. It's time, folks. It's time, audience. Think about the word national security. If you were to call up, let's say, the White House, or if you could get through to the president or somebody in an official position, ask them a specific question about, Area 51, or, I don't know, on deep underground military bunkers underneath Denver International Airport, which I'm going to tell you a quick story about that. But if you were to call and ask them, hey, listen, is there I want to go underneath Denver International Airport and check out the deep underground military bunker that's 5,000 square miles and operating on a mercury isotope nuclear generator. And they would say, sorry, sir, but due to national security, you don't have access to that area or that information. What is national security? What is the nation? Well, when the U.S. of A. Corporation representatives say national security, what they're saying is corporate information that they don't want to reveal to you because it's going to blow your mind. It's going to shatter your paradigm. And it's time now. It's time that we start pushing beyond the boundaries, this glass ceiling that we've been put under, and free ourselves. You want to be free. Some people, I was just about to ask, you want to be free, don't you? But some people don't want to be free, or some people can't handle the responsibility of being free. And there's a lot of responsibility to being a sovereign or being a living soul, as opposed to being a citizen. When you're a citizen, you don't have to worry about responsibility. Responsibility is taken care of by the corporations that are posing as governments. So I'm sure you could tell by now, from the beginning of this show and the things I'm saying, that I am not here to straddle the fence for you guys. I'm not here to play nice with the information that I think you need to know. I'm here to open up doors and kick in doors and open up a world of information that's been hidden from you. I've picked a side. I have picked a side. My side is the side of the living soul and the sovereign and the free man and the free woman. And my side of the fence is the side of truth. My side of the fence is answers, real answers to the most important questions of our time. I think we have the technology and the capability now as thinking, logical beings to answer these questions, and it's time. It's time. So let's start with some of these important questions. First question. Let's talk about the first question. I was talking to Gary before the show, and he said, well, what are you going to talk about tonight? What's your topic? What topics? And I made a list of topics, And one of them, the first one I mentioned, he said, if you start